others instead of following, their way, or a routine, or accidental. Some things are done on accident, but then you'll realize it's purpose, right? So she goes down the well, and wells are you throw pennies in it. Our elders throw a penny in the well, you make a wish. And then referencing back to pennies and Emancipation Proclamation and the attributes that we already know about it, the differentiation and what it actually means. So now that we're here as copper-colored individuals, even though this animated anime is literally, it doesn't have anybody of us in there. Like, Sango is a friend of hers with a boomerang that rides on an animal called Kilala that looks like a fox that turns into a bigger fox. So that is nothing but Shango. You have Inuyasha, who's like Babalue, and Kagome, who's Oya. Also, she carries a bow and arrow. And back in criminal justice, and my teacher, thank you, Mr. Gregory Jackson, taught about the Bow Street Runners. And with the Bow Street Runners, and them, pretty much like helping their neighborhood and being assertive when it comes to advocacy and protecting the citizens or the residents or really the area, for some that don't like certain words. And all I'm getting at is symbolic to the archer, the heart. She followed her heart. Her brother lost something in the well. So what she did was she went after what her brother wanted so she can satisfy her brother, even though she didn't want to. Now, those who've seen it, basically, the grandfather, he was very into the secrets of the families, and he even had the little slips. Those would call it ancestral money. If y'all are, just watch the very first episode. It is on, a lot of these episodes are free on YouTube. Just watch the very first episode and you'll see how it was an accident versus walking into a purpose on accident, or doing something by accident and finding your purpose. Alice in Wonderland, being curious, following somebody going down a rabbit hole, versus you trying to help a sibling and you end up finding your purpose, is two different journeys. Those are two different purposes. Those are two different kinds of attributes of your spiritual knowledge: knowing, unknowing, conscious, unconsciously, and even subconsciousness. So that's the difference, if that helped someone. So anyway, with the 5-point star, and then the anise star seeds and star seeds, in this particular one, if you just go look at it, it'll show you basically Inuyasha wants to be this full demon. They are trying to find all the jewel shards, because with her going down the well, learning about the things that's in there, over there, all that, venturing basically, she ends up figuring out certain things. But then evilness, and Inuyasha was on a tree. He was hit with an arrow by a priestess back when he was, liking her, loving her. And Kagome is like what they would call the reincarnated. They called her that. And she's like, no, I'm just in another world, and you're trying to compare me to Kikyo, because that's her name, and I'm not that. So these are the replicas of the ones who would say, you're copying me, or something like that. Like, there's the ones that follow a rabbit instead of themselves, Literally, you went to a temple, you went somewhere, and you had to get someone to tell you certain things instead of following what your heart said, especially as a woman. Especially as a woman. And I don't mean no harm to anybody, but this is how these problems here happen, where women, we don't know our true identity and we go searching outside of ourselves instead of asking ourselves or checking our heart after getting knowledge. Instead of, it's kind of like you move forward in the knowledge someone taught you as a woman instead of going within and realizing who you are instead. So the journey of her and the crew finding the jewel shards is because a bird or something caught the jewel shard and was literally trying to get away with it, because she already unleashed the demon from the tree. Like, she was just being this caring, loving person. Like, oh, there's someone on a tree and the arrow's pierced in them. Took the arrow out, broken a spell. Something about her awoken that demon, though, that was on the tree to begin with. So she helps the demon off the tree. And then he starts laughing and tries to hurt her because of some jewels and stuff. And basically what happens is she realizes why she shouldn't have did it. But then Kikyo's sister, who's old, because Kikyo died young because of a betrayal of Inuyasha and her, due to this man, this entity, this demon called Naraku, confusing them and literally putting them in a bind of some kind of hallucination spell where they betray each other. So then Kagome comes along, and he thought that when he was awoken before he got off the tree that was Kikyo, and she was getting irritated, like, no, I'm not her, and I'm Kagome, and da-da-da-da-da. So, and then he said, okay, well, she was cuter anyway. Like, but she just is like a lookalike or someone who's a comparison. You know how you meet someone and you might say, oh, you remind me of that thing. So, moving forward, all I'm getting at with this, I'm just giving you the rundown of what I feel Inuyasha stands for, the anime. I mean, it obviously more to it, but at the end of the day, with her and this pendant and on this star, kind of like she's a sacrifice, or really trying to hold her so that they can turn Inuyasha